right on with the microphone here. So my name is Michael Strickland. I never intended to become any sort of public figure. This just sort of happened by accident. You know, some folks in the room are really good at turning the camera towards themselves and talking about things, putting up online their personalities. That was never my thing. I looked at what I did as more of a pure journalistic thing. You know, I used to tout myself as the most accurate source of political news in the Pacific Northwest. I ran a YouTube channel called Laughing at Liberals, and I would go to events all around the Portland area, or through the I-5 corridor, things that were not being covered by mainstream media that I felt should be. I filmed a lot of things going on at the colleges in the area, a lot of the politicians' town halls, a lot of protests in the streets, and I just post stuff up, you know, with minimal commentary. Really, the only time that I'd get into commentary is if it's a more investigative piece. Then I'd have to, you know, explain everything that's going on. So this all reared its head come July 7th, 2016. I'm out there filming a protest. I'm not there to argue with anyone or cause trouble. I like to take a fly-on-the-wall perspective. So I'm just standing there. I got my camera up on the monopod. I'm just filming the speakers at the steps. And the next thing I know, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a gang of these thugs coming right at me. This was long before Joey was out out on the streets. You know, before the other Joey was running for Congress. So, you know, this was not a thing where there's, you know, two competing groups or like, you know, 20 or 30 people with me. I'm out there by myself. So, I noticed a gang of these thugs with their masks on coming straight for me, led by a guy, his name is Benjamin Carenza. He literally weighs 400 pounds. He's twice my size. He's got a very lengthy criminal history. They're making a beeline straight for me. They start circling me from behind. And the big dude starts pushing and shoving me. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. I'm like, whoa, hey, don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hands on me. I immediately start backing away because I'm not there to fight. I'm not there to cause trouble with anyone. So a bunch of other people are coming and running into the scene. A lot of the protesters, they know who I am. They don't like me because I post what actually happens at protests. When they're shouting through the megaphone about shooting police officers, when they're smashing windows, when they're assaulting bystanders. I was there filming it all, posting it up online. I had several videos that would make it on the Fox News and a lot of big websites. It had all started off as a hobby, but it eventually grew into, you know, my primary source of income. So I start backing away. A bunch of other people are now coming to run into the scene. I got all these people, you know, harassing me, screaming and yelling at me, coming in from multiple different angles. You know, I felt like a pinball bouncing around when the big dude was manhandling me, as one witness said. So I'm backing away the entire time, and it reaches a point where another guy is circling around my back. So my attention is distracted to my right, and notice the big dude now coming up on my left side, my blind side. And at that point, I had every reason to believe that these guys, in a mob mentality, were just seconds away from pummeling me into the ground, robbing me of my camera gear, my computer gear. Now that had actually happened to me 14 months prior to this. In 2015, I had 2 video cameras stolen from me. I was body slammed onto the pavement. My arm shattered, requiring multiple surgeries. District attorneys never charged the guy. He never faced any repercussions for it. So in the situation that I now find myself in 2016, no police anywhere to be seen. You got hundreds of people marching through the streets, not a single uniformed police officer. These guys are all in masks. I have no reason to believe whatsoever that anybody who's about to beat and rob me is going to be identified or ever brought to justice. So at that point, I had no choice. You know, I had been backing away. That didn't deter them. I used verbal commands. That did not deter them. I flipped my monopod upside down to use that as sort of a non-lethal intermediary option. That did not deter them. I exhausted all these other options, and finally it's, hey, get the hell back. Everybody needs to get the hell away from me. You tell me what else I'm supposed to do in that situation. Huddle down in the fetal position and take the beating? Hope I survive? Hope that my computer and camera gear is recovered? So fortunately, everybody stopped and or got back. The threat had been alleviated. I was taught to shoot until the threat was neutralized. I've been through a lot of firearms training courses, even some of the introductory police training through DPSST instructors. So everybody stopped and or got back. The threats had been neutralized at that point, so I reholstered. And I continued retreating up the block. A few other people got in my face, but it had not reached the level of physical threat. The police finally show up. I'm the one arrested. I'm the one in handcuffs, brought into jail. I'm going up on multiple charges. The violent thugs who started the entire thing, they're considered the innocent victims. So I show up for my arraignment the next day, because I was initially charged with only 2 misdemeanors. I show up for the arraignment, and this deputy district attorney by the name of Kate Molina, she pulls out this phony police report that I didn't even know existed. That this guy who I hardly even know, who was harassing me at an event about a month prior, he files this report claiming that I'm sending him race-based, threatening text messages and voicemails, and that I'm driving by his house with my hand in the shape of a gun. I barely know who this guy is. I'm a video news journalist. I don't go around harassing people. The night that he's claiming that I drove by his house and pointed my hand in the shape of a gun towards him, I was caring for not 1 but 2 cats that needed medical attention. So she uses this phony police report to now tack on felony charges, toss me in jail with a $250,000 bail. My video is immediately seized by police, so the public can't see it. So in this phony police report, this guy John Slaughter is his name. He's making all these allegations that I have ties to these white supremacist groups in the area. So Kate Molina is reading this out loud in open court as if it were fact to the judge with TV cameras rolling. Guess what the news is reporting that night? Violent white supremacist guy who harasses black people and the people at the Orlando Vigil. What? So fortunately, there were enough people who were just outraged about what had happened to me. We were able to raise funds, Oregon Firearms Federation in particular, big help in that. I was able to get bailed out. I was able to now sort of fight my own thing, but now I'm on pretrial release. The pretrial release officer, Chelsea Fanua, she banned me from talking to the media, posting videos, going on Twitter, going to political events, and blogging. So the only narrative that's out there is what mainstream news is reporting and what people are saying on the internet, on Facebook. And we all know if somebody says it on the internet, it's true, right? So it eventually comes time for trial. Of course, my actions were in self-defense, so I'm citing self-defense all through the trial. These guys are on the witness stand admitting, oh yeah, we saw Strickland in the crowd, we don't like him, so we organized this big thing to go and confront him and physically force him out of the crowd. They're admitting all this on the witness stand. Now, we had to do what's called a bench trial instead of a jury trial because the jury had been tainted. One of the things that we had motioned for was a change of venue to move it to a different county because everybody had heard these untrue things about me that were going around in the media. Judge denied our motion for change of venue. So we couldn't trust the jury. They had all heard about the trial, or about what had happened. They had all read about me in the news. Some of them were even at the freaking protest. One of them was a volunteer for another organization that I've done investigative reports on. So this jury is completely tainted and biased. So we had to do the bench trial. The judge found me guilty of 21 counts, 10 felonies of unlawful use of a weapon, 10 misdemeanors of menacing, and 1 misdemeanor of disorderly conduct. Now they're claiming that there's all these victims. Only 2 of these people ever came forward. One of which is the big guy who started the entire thing with the lengthy criminal history. The other guy is the one who I've seen at several events, who I have on film, causing trouble. And he was the one who was circling around my back to distract my attention to my right. Those are the only 2 people who were ever identified and never came forward. How can they claim there's 10 victims if I never had the right to face any of them? So, of course, we're now in the appeals process. And in the appeals process, we're not going back and re-arguing the facts of the case. We're bringing up things that the judge ruled during the trial that were admitted or ruled not to be admissible that we felt we were wronged on. Change of venue is one of them. The fact that only 2 of the 10 victims ever came forward is another. The judge allowed an ambush witness to come up after both sides had rested. An ambush witness. We had no idea who this guy was. He was brought up as the expert witness for the state. We had no idea who he was. Ryan Rasmussen is his name, Gresham Police. He's their firearms and use of force trainer. He was on the witness stand saying that he can only testify as to what police officers are doing because he has no experience or training in the civilian world. So he's up there saying that police officers are not trained to draw their guns, not shoot, and then reholster. Now, I personally have witnessed that several times. And so they're very, very vague on what I should have done. No one has properly explained what somebody should do when they're attacked by a mob of thugs in the street. So, it's, as much as people look at my case as a Second Amendment case for the firearm, I look at it equally, if not more so, as a First Amendment case. Does a person have the right to be in a public area, filming a public event, as part of their job, in exercise of their freedom of the press? The judge says no. A mob of thugs have the right to use physical force to prevent someone from doing that. That puts everybody at risk in the state for mob violence. If someone's standing on the street doing something else other than First Amendment, you have less standing to even be there. So this essentially legalizes mob violence. This means, if you take the similar circumstances and apply them to another thing, KKK members with masks over their faces have the legal right and lawful authority to attack people of color on the street. And that's not a crime according to the judge. It's a crime if the black dude who they're targeting tries to fight back. Then the black dude is the one brought in on charges. And the KKK guys, they're the innocent victims. So as I've been going around giving speeches about this, I attempted to give a speech at Portland State University about 2 months ago. You're about to give me the hook, aren't you?
Continue that.
Okay. So many of you saw this on the news because it made national news. I'm there trying to give the speech. One of the guys out front with the man bun out there, he shows up playing his cowbell for an hour, screaming, yelling obscenities at everybody in the room. That made national news. The police, of course, refusing to intervene, saying that it somehow does not meet the statutory definition of harassment or disorderly conduct, even though it clearly does. So the guy eventually left after an hour or so, and I was able to give an abbreviated version of the speech. So yeah, I stand for the rights of free speech. Freedom of the press is my big thing. As it stands now, I am banned from filming political events, banned from filming anything at the colleges. If somebody tells me to leave an area, I have to leave. If I were to have filmed my own speech at Portland State University, I'd go to prison because that'd be a violation of my probation. So yeah, this is plotting through the appeals process. Robert Barnes is my attorney, whom many of you might be familiar with. He often appears on news channels and whatnot. And I have no intention of giving up this fight until this case is overturned at whatever level that it needs to be overturned at. Mob violence should not be illegal on the streets. It is now. Everybody's complaining about the brawls that break out during Joey Gibson's events. Well, all you radical leftists, you encourage that. You encourage the legalization of mob violence in the streets. You cheered it on when it happened to me. Now it's happening to you, and you want to complain about it. That's not how the law works. It's supposed to see things all ways. So I'll shut up now, and we'll get on to the next person. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Casey, for having me. YouTube.com/LaughingAtLiberals is my YouTube channel. I'm on Twitter @LaughingAtLibs.
All right, let's give it up again for Michael Strickland.